Hello students, welcome to the next lecture on software engineering subject, unit 1, introduction to software engineering. We'll be looking about models. In general social learning process, software is embodied knowledge that is initially dispersed, tactic and incomplete. In order to convert knowledge into software, dialogues are needed between users and designers, between designers and tools to bring knowledge into software. Software development is essentially an iterative social learning process, and the outcome is software capital. What, who, why is process models? What? Go through a series of predictable steps, a roadmap that helps you create a timely, high quality results. Who? Software engineers and their managers, clients also. People adapt the process to their needs and follow it. Why? Provide stability, control, and organization to an activity that can, if left uncontrolled, become quite chaotic. However, modern software engineering approaches must be agile and demand only those activities, controls, and work products that are appropriate. What work products? Programs, documents, and data. What are the steps? The process you adapt depends on the software that you are building. One process might be good for aircraft avionics system, while an entirely different process would be used for website creation. How to ensure right? A number of software process assessment mechanisms that enable us to determine the maturity of the software process. However, the quality, timeliness, and long-term viability of the software are the best indicators of the efficacy of the process use. In terms of a very apt definition on software processes, a framework for the activities, actions, and tasks that are required to build high quality software. Software process defines the approach that is taken as software is engineered. It's not equal to software engineering, which also encompasses technologies that populate the process, technical methods, and automated tools. This is one of an general software process where an whole software process is under umbrella activities like certain tasks, products, quality assurance points, and project milestones iteratively takes place, breaking down on different actions. This is a very generic process model. As we discussed before, a generic process framework for software engineering defines a general 5 framework activity. First and foremost, communication. Next, planning upon the communicated information. Modeling, construction, and deployment. In addition, a set of umbrella activities iteratively will take place in terms of project tracking and control, risk management, quality assurance, configuration management, technical reviews, and others are applied throughout the process. Let me put a next question is how the framework activities and the actions and tasks that occur within each activity are organized with respect to sequence and time. Let's look at the process flow will be the answer for this particular question. So different process flows. One is a linear process flow. The first diagram A section, which is communicating, planning, modeling, construction, and deployment to the user. Whereas the second iterative process, one or more phases of software process may take iteratively, independently of putting together or overall overflow may also take place. But ultimate is like an iterative. It may takes one or many times on updating the information then when and where it is been given. Next is an evolutionary process flow. Never a process has been iterated until a whole framework activity is completed. So this is how evolutionary process flow takes place, like version 1, version 2, version 3. There comes a parallel process flow. So parallelly some iteration can also happen at a time based on certain time and proper planning. So these are the different types of process flow may take place according to the project. Linear process flow executes each of the 5 activities in sequence. An iterative process flow repeats one or more of the activities before proceeding to the next. An evolutionary process flow executes the activities in a circular manner. Each circuit leads to a more complete version of the software. A parallel process flow executes one or more activities in parallel with other activities. modeling for one aspect of the software in parallel with construction of another aspect of the software. Before you can proceed with the process model, let me put a key question. What actions are appropriate for a framework activity given the nature of the problem, the characteristics of the people and stakeholders? A task set defines the actual work to be done to accomplish the objectives of a software engineering action. A list of the tasks to be accomplished, we have to list, and a list of the work products to be produced, and then finally it may be combined. A list of the quality assurance filters to be applied. So this way we'll be identifying a task set. For example, a small software project requested by one person with simple requirements. The communication activity might encompass little more than a phone all with the stakeholder. Therefore, the only necessary action is phone conversation. The work tasks of this action or make contact with the stakeholder via telephone, discuss requirements and take notes, organize notes into a brief written statement of requirements, email to stakeholder for review and approval. The task sets for requirements gathering action for a simple project may include: make a list of stakeholders for the project, invite all stakeholders to an informal meeting, ask each stakeholder to make a list of features and functions required, discuss requirements and build a final list, prioritize requirements, note areas of uncertainty. The tasks for requirements gathering action for a big project may include: make a list of stakeholders for the project, interview each stakeholder separately to determine overall wants and needs, build a preliminary list of functions and features based on stakeholder input, schedule a series of facilitated application specification meetings, conduct meetings, produce informal user scenarios as part of each meeting, refine each user scenarios based on stakeholder feedback, build a revised list of stakeholder requirements, use quality function deployment techniques to prioritize requirements, package requirements so that they can be delivered incrementally, note constraints and restrictions that will be placed on the system, discuss method for validating the system. Both do the same work with different depth and formality. That's why it's going to differ from the small project and the big project. Choose the task sets that achieve the goal and still maintain quality and agility. There's a process pattern which describes a process related problem that is encountered during engineering work. Software engineering work identifies the environment in which the problem has been encountered and suggests one or more proven solutions to the problem. That is termed to be patterns. Stated in more gentle terms, a process pattern provides you with a template, a consistent method for describing problem solutions within the context of the software process. Defined at different levels of abstraction, problems and solutions associated with the complete process model is prototyping. Problems and solutions associated with the framework activity we term it to be planning, and an action with a framework activity we term it to be project estimating, right? So more we'll be focusing on prototyping, like problems and solutions associated with a complete process model. There are stage patterns, task patterns, and phase patterns, which defines a problem associated with the framework activity for the process. It includes multiple task patterns as well. Example: establishing communication would incorporate the task pattern, requirements gathering, and others. Defines a problem associated with a software engineering action or work task and relevant to successful software engineering practice. Phase patterns define the sequence of framework activities that occur with the process, even when the overall flow of activities is iterative in nature. Proper examples include spiral model prototyping. An example for process pattern. An example of process pattern describes an approach that may be applicable when stakeholders have a general idea of what must be done but are unsure of specific software requirements. When it is requirements unclear what we must be doing in terms of process pattern, if you look at the intent, type, initial context, problem, solution, resulting context, and related patterns. So these are the template that needs to be filled on encountering a problem like requirements unclear. For example, this problem itself clearly conveys as what is the problem. So thereby, let's look at the solution. Description of the prototyping process would be presented here in terms of a software prototype that identifies basic requirements, modes of interaction, computational features, processing function is approved by stakeholders. Following this, this prototype may evolve through a series of increments to become the production software. The prototype might be discarded. So this may be a possible solution that may be listed, like stakeholders have been identified, mode of communication between stakeholders in the software has been established, overriding software problem to be solved has been identified by the stakeholders, and initial understanding of project scope, basic business requirements, and project constraints have been developed. Problem is requirements are hazy and non-existent. Stakeholders are unsure of what they want. So in such an environment, a more on communication, on listing up their requirements is going to be the solution, and for that raising up questions can be framed here and can be conveyed. So these are general example of a process assessment and improvement. So there are, as I told you, like how can it be improvised, and for your particular project which is more apted is can be assessed and improvised. So there were that is actually it cannot be guaranteed that software will be delivered on time, meet the needs, has the desired technical characteristics. However, the process can be assessed to ensure that it meets a set of basic process criteria that have been shown to be essential for a successful software engineering. Standard, there are different methods, thereby we can ensure uh, uh, proper choice on our framework. So first one, SAMPI, which provides a 5-step process assessment model that incorporates 5 phases: initiating, diagnosing, establishing, acting, and learning about the project. The second is CBI-IPI, provides a diagnostic technique for assessing the relative maturity of a software organization, uses the SCI-CMM as the basis of the assessment. So they provide a certain standards and protocols that need to be mapped for a better ensure on the follow up of software engineering principles. And the SPICE, the standard provided by ISO standard, defines a set of requirements for software process assessment. The intent of the standard is to assist the organization in developing an objective evaluation of the efficacy of any defined software process. And another ISO 9001:2000 for software, generic standard that applies to any organization that wants to improve the overall quality of the products, systems, or services that it provides. Therefore, the standard is directly applicable to software organization and companies.